Tonight, 2 people are dead and a 28-year-old is in custody after a deadly shooting near a warehouse.
Christina Van Zelst is live on the city's north side where police are still investigating. Christina.
We got to talk about Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So Milwaukee is Wisconsin's largest city, and it's not too far from Chicago. I went to school in Illinois, so I know the area very well. Milwaukee has been in the news the last 3 days, and Milwaukee is starting to do Chicago-style things. I thought Chicago was a special kind. I thought Chicago was in a league of its own. But it turns out that Milwaukee is just as bad, if not worse, or at least is trying to compete for top prize with Chicago.
Yeah, Kim and Ben, it's not clear what led up to this shooting, but want to just show you how vast this crime scene is. We are on the far east side here on Cameron and 31st, but the scene stretches several blocks that way, and investigators were focused on a warehouse area. Dozens of people, they started to gather when they were learning what happened earlier this afternoon, just before 4, when they learned that 2 people were shot and killed. There were a lot of emotions and still a lot of questions about what happened. Police, again, they were called to the area of 31st and Cameron for a shooting around 3:40. A 33-year-old and an unidentified victim were shot and killed. Investigators were focused on that lot behind warehouses on 31st Street. Family and friends of the 33-year-old say he was a local rapper known as Funny Money, and that's his recording studio.
None of us taking the wheel. I'm definitely not taking the wheel. I'm just trying to hold my proposal.
Police did arrest a 28-year-old and say charges will be referred to the district attorney's office. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Christina Van Zelst, Fox 6 News.
Still an active scene out there. Christina, thank you. Milwaukee police confirm a 44-year-old is dead, and they've arrested an 18-year-old woman, and what they're describing tonight as a road rage incident that led up to a shooting. This all happened around 3:15 this afternoon. This was in the area of 10th and Lapham. MPD, they're referring charges to the DA's office.
Shooting spree ends with 3 people dead and now criminal charges.
Prosecutors say the suspect, Thomas Zolokoffer, shot his ex-girlfriend and a man at a Southside house party Saturday. A half hour later, they say he could not find someone he knew, so he killed a stranger out of frustration. Nick Bohr is live at the Milwaukee County Courthouse for us.
He killed a stranger out of frustration. So why am I the bad person for telling people to stay away from people like this? You know, like, you can be a stranger minding your own business, and things like this will happen to you. Milwaukee has gotten bad. Milwaukee is just as bad as Chicago. It never gets talked about enough, but Milwaukee has become the new Chicago.
Tonight, Nick, prosecutors believe jealousy sparked the initial killings.
All right, prosecutors here at the courthouse say that Zolokoffer showed up at that house party Saturday night and before long took aim at his ex-girlfriend and another man that he suspected of having a relationship with her. It took police 3 days to track him down.
You see how they used to, if you go on FBA TikTok, how they talk about how when Africans move to the U.S., they tell their children not to marry Black Americans. They tell their children not to be around Black Americans. And they make it sound like the Africans are so wrong in assuming that, even though they're not saying everybody. But, you know, it's like, hey, if there's a problem here, I don't have the time to break it down, to figure out who is the best, who is the worst. So it's a lot easier to say, just don't be around that. There's a lot of other different people that you can be around. So why not just go be with the other folks so we don't have to investigate who is okay and who isn't? On paper, it doesn't sound good, but in practice, it makes a whole lot of sense. Can you imagine raising your daughter, investing in your children. Then they go off to college, then they run into one of these dudes and they get into a relationship with them. Isn't that going to be like the most depressing thing as a father that your daughter would give you? And that only happens if you don't teach them at a younger age to look out for stuff like this and to be very selective on who they have relationships with, right? So those African puppies that came here 30 years ago, they were not wrong. I'm almost a new arrival, 20 years in. And I'll say that to my own children, like at least I'm very upfront about it. I don't lie about it. I don't want my kids around these folks. If I'm not around them, my kids shouldn't be around them, I don't have time to kind of break it down to know who is good, who is bad. That's not my job to do. Image is very important. If you really care about what the Africans think, I think it's in your best interest to clean up the community a little bit. Then we can have a conversation. But don't make these guys feel bad for making decisions that are pretty much obvious. Milwaukee has gotten bad, and it feels like we're not going to Milwaukee. No.
News was there as police took down Thomas Zollicoffer Tuesday afternoon at 84th and Febrance. Zollicoffer is now charged with killing 3 people, including his ex-girlfriend, Vanessa.
Damn, a white girl dating this dude? What's wrong with some of these people, man? Really? I mean, some of them go off like that, liberalized mindsets. Oh, the blacks are not dangerous. No, the blacks are not dangerous. It's systemic issues. We are responsible. One of these white folks that want to blame themselves for something that, quote unquote, their ancestors did, right? So they kind of brainwash themselves into getting into bed with these people and assume that you're going to die. I mean, are you stupid? Why? She looks good. I mean, you couldn't get a white dude. You couldn't get a Hispanic dude. Like, you had options. I mean, geez, why did you do this to yourself?
De Herrera.
That's my beautiful daughter. It's my only daughter that I have.
Oh, she's Hispanic. Mama looked good too. But why did you put your daughter in? Why, when you're raising your daughter, you have to tell them these things. See, learn from the Africans. Learn from us. You have to teach them these things so that when they grow up, they don't make these decisions that put them at risk. These things are no joke. Stop being overly nice with this stuff. Like I sound like the horrible uncle that is always talking about this stuff. But it feels like I'm always right. These things feel like I'm always right, man. It looks like a Hispanic. This might be the little bystander dude. And then a black woman or a mixed-race woman. This is crazy, man.
3 people, including his ex-girlfriend, Vanessa De Herrera.
That's my beautiful daughter. It's my only daughter that I have. 26 years old. She's gone.
According to the criminal complaint, Zollicoffer showed up at a party Saturday night at 21st and Pierce, where Vanessa was staying, accused her of having a relationship with 29-year-old Scott Buchholz before fatally shooting them both, telling Vanessa, quote, "I told you to quit playing with me." Prosecutors say Zollicoffer then drove to...
Okay, so she was with the other dude, left off. Shouldn't have been with the dude to start with, right? Shouldn't have been with a black guy to start with. Very unstable. I've been doing a lot of videos about passport bros and black men that travel around the world. There's some of them in Africa that are bringing this bullshit to us. One of the common observations that I have noticed, because, I'm learning how they think and how they process things, they're fragile. A lot of these guys they're not men anymore. They have male bodies, but they're not men. They don't know masculine things, right? They're completely lost. They are done for the most part. Hopeless, useless. And if you're raising children and you're not telling them to stay away, you're going to have results like this. I don't mean to even laugh about this stuff, man. This is serious. What are they not hearing? Why would you do this to yourself? Isolation would have solved this. again, I am right. I'm always right about these things when it comes to these folks.
To a rooming house at 39th and Townsend looking to buy drugs. But when the dealer wasn't there, he fatally shot another woman out of frustration, killing 38-year-old Shamarla Hare, a stranger. A string of violence impossible for survivors to understand.
She moved in with me to get away from him. And love makes you do funny things. And
yeah, so you knew he was violent. Why are you entangled with that? You moved away to get away from him. Why didn't you go to the police? Why didn't you get restraining order? I mean, God gives you these signs. Maybe you may have made a mistake by coming into contact with this person. Leave the state. Go live somewhere else for a little bit. Stay away from that person. Turn off your social media. Put a restraining order. Give him enough time to get over it. You have options. Don't play with these people. They're dangerous, man. These are some animals y'all are dealing with. You don't know how sick these folks are, man.
you know, she always saw the best in people.
That trust proving fatally misplaced in a man now facing.
Why is 28-year-old, 26-year-old messing with a dude like this? Looks angry, looks a mess, on drugs, probably doesn't even have a job. Come on, man.
Facing 3 counts of first-degree intentional homicide.
This isn't real, not Vanessa. Literally anybody but Vanessa. It's devastating. We are lost.
In another twist, a 38-year-old Elena Cole is also charged for letting Zollicoffer hide out at that house on 84th where police arrested him. According to the complaint, Zollicoffer admitted he'd killed 3 people, yet Cole allowed him to stay, at times leaving him alone with her 3 kids, and didn't call police.
Yep. Single mother with 3 kids, hosts a criminal, even leaves her own children with a killer. I mean, these are the folks that we black immigrants are competing against. Man, get out of here, man. Tariq Nasheed. Get the F out of here. No, they're not like us. Now I don't think they came from us. I don't believe it. I've changed my position on some of these things. You know, I after covering this extensively, these guys could be right. I don't know, but I don't think. I'm starting to rethink the transatlantic slave trade. And I'm starting to believe, you know, that I don't think they came from us. It's not possible. Or something happened. They're not like, there's nothing that we have in common with these guys. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know, I was breaking down, because I live amongst a bunch of Southeast Asians who also come from kind of like a British system. And I was kind of observing how they do things. Because 80% of my neighborhood is folks from Southeast Asia. And every time I look at them in close proximity and how they do things, we have a lot more in common with those folks. Maybe call it British imperialism, right? But there's a lot more in common with them than with these guys that have our skin color, right? Which is still kind of debatable. But after covering this on YouTube for quite a bit of time and understanding the psychology behind a lot of these things, I don't think they came from Africa. And I hate to say this for the first time. This is the first time I'm saying it. Or if they did, which most of the history suggests they did, if they did, something happened that made them completely different from us. These are not our people. These are not us. This is not true. It's one of the biggest lies ever. These are not our people, man. They may be historically, but they've gone through so many iterations mixed up with different colors and bloodlines that something is off. There's nothing African about this. You know? So I may have to get into some deeper studies because right now I really don't, these are not our people. These are not us. No, absolutely not.
Police because she, quote, did not want to get into it.
A lot of details emerging in this criminal complaint. These cases, Nick Zollicoffer facing 3 counts, as you mentioned, of first-degree intentional homicide. What about the charges against the woman accused of harboring him?
Right, she was arrested that day, too, charged with harboring or aiding a felon and 3 counts of neglecting a child for leaving her kids alone with him. Zollicoffer faces a mandatory life sentence if he's convicted.
Nick Bohr leading us off live from the Milwaukee County Courthouse down.
So you get the point. Milwaukee is going down the drain. Milwaukee has become the next Chicago.